Welcome to the Unsidelined Life, the podcast that challenges and encourages women to stop denying themselves a full life and to step boldly into the opportunities God is preparing for you. Join me for raw insights and engaging conversations to guide your journey of self-discovery and pursue the life that God created for you. Welcome to the Unsidelined Life. This is Eileen Noyes, your host. I feel that I have this extra excitement, this extra oomph today because I'm super excited. This has been a guest that just life and family. I don't even know how many months we're like, hey, how's it going for this time? And so I know that as some of you are looking at the screen or however they edit it, you, especially Green Bay Packer fans, you're seeing a familiar face. This is in honor of her. I never wear t-shirts. I hate t-shirts, and I'd never have worn Green Bay gear. But this is totally out of reverence and love for not only Betina Driver, her amazing husband, and her beautiful children. I think I share a birthday with one of them. There's a June 13th birthday. Who's that?
Yeah, Christina.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that. So
you do.
before we go on, this is why there's a special place in my heart for Tina. I think of all the guests I've had, guests that have been coaches' wives and they're ahead of me. I've had guests that have been playing where we just kind of, our seasons, our careers, we're just kind of passing. So Tina has been one where her husband and my ex, it was actually the same year. I don't know if you know this. Do you remember that? They were drafted the same year, right? Or maybe a year ahead. Okay, so when was
99?
yours? Okay, so you're a year ahead. Okay, so we were 2000. He was
Okay.
2000, and then we got married in 2001. So we've spent all our career together, and then my ex got done, I think, a couple of years before yours. So there's so much in this conversation where it's living life together, the seasons of, just wife, then mom, at the beginning of, what, especially at least for the Packers, it was doing all the functions for PWA, the Packer Wives Association, and then kind of weaning off all those things. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about things that you probably haven't thought about for a long, long time. And so just life. So this has been one that it's super exciting because I just want to talk about the different parallels. I won't talk about too much of holy cow, what happened at the end of after we were all done living family life. And then honestly, I mean, this is the reality that I maybe I'll ask you this question at the end. What the heck was running through your mind when you heard about my ex and I? So those things run through my head. But I will introduce you, and I just did. But I want you to introduce yourself, kids, ages, husband, all the things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm Betina Driver. I am a mother and a wife, a mother to 3 beautiful, amazing kids. Christian, who's 21, Christina, 19, Charity is 13. And I mean, it's so awesome that all of my kids were born in Green Bay and we just raised them there. We love the community. But anyway, my husband is Donald, whom I just adore. He played with Green Bay, drafted, retired from there for 14 years, and he's been amazing. He's still the love of my life, and we still like each other after all these years. After all these years, we still adore each other. So yeah, he's amazing, and we're just doing life together. We're loving our kids. We're in the thick of it with them, and I'm just being mom. I'm being mom. I'm being wife. I'm being the supporter of him and the businesses that he's taken on. So we're just living. And growing still, you know.
I love it. I have to say this though. So a couple, well, not a couple, more than a couple of my guests, whether they're Packer related or not, there's been several, and even other guests outside of football have been divorced and have like just started it over, or even like me, and
Yeah.
one of our mutual friends, Erin, so Erin Shea, she was on here. And I had mentioned something like, "Oh yeah, I'm finally going to have Bettina on the show," and she's like, "Oh no, what's going on with them?" As if you guys had issues and were divorced or something like that. And I'm like, "Hey," I said, "I am not. This is not a show about endorsing
Right.
divorcees." I'm like, I want us to like cheer each other on as
Yeah.
women, no matter
Celebrate. Yeah.
where. So I love that, you're we all have success stories in different ways, but I love
Yeah.
seeing and just looking at you going, wow, like it there's the temptation of like, dang, that didn't happen to me. Obviously my story with my first spouse didn't end that way, but God is not
Yeah.
done with me. But I look at you guys and
Sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool to see that,
Yeah.
that you guys have like started, where you started. I don't know your story necessarily in the sense of like, well, and that's what I want to talk about too, is, it's definitely out there that Donald had a rough start. I don't know, homeless, or I don't know, but we don't know these things about you. So there's so many, like, it's just a success story or a love story. And I see how God is faithful to you guys and your love for each other
Yeah.
continues, and how it's carrying on to the next generation. And like that just, it's like, I applaud you, I give glory to God, and I know you do too. But I
Yeah.
love,
For
like,
sure.
this is where I'm just like, oh, like, this is so cool to hear. And this
Yeah.
is, we're talking 20, okay, so 1999, so we're talking, well, over 20 years that we've done life and all those things. So you
Yeah.
answered one question. You said 1999 was when you got drafted, right?
Yes.
Okay, were you together?
Definitely.
Were you married?
Yeah.
Like, talk about the
When
whole start of your career.
Well, we went to college together. And when he was drafted in 99, we were engaged.
Okay.
Before he left college, we got engaged. And he spent an entire year in Green Bay because I was still in school. I had another year left.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, I don't care if you're engaged, you're going to get your degree. So I stayed in school and we did the whole distance thing, and he flew me up and we hung out and, did all the things, but I had to stay in school. So when he was
Where was
there,
school, by the way?
well, we
Where was
went to
school?
Alcorn State University in Mississippi.
In Mississippi. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in
How
Mississippi, and
far is that from Green Bay?
that's where I'm from. No, it was no, yeah, we had pretty long distance for a while, but fortunately he had the resources to, come see me, or I come see him when the opportunity presented itself. But yeah, we didn't get married till until the year 2000. We got married, and we got married the spring break of my senior year. And so we got married. We went to Disney World for our honeymoon, and then he went back to Green Bay, and I went back to school
Finished.
as yeah, as a married woman.
Wow.
So, and of course, I had to finish, and I finished in May of that year, and then um, I went to Green Bay to live.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, okay, so did you know anybody in Green Bay at the time? Like anybody outside of, your husband?
Yeah. I think I knew a few ladies, but I was a girlfriend. And there is a status quo with being a girlfriend and not a wife. So I remember them being, nice to me. And I probably came up to a Christmas party as a girlfriend. The parties that were held in Oneida at the country club, the
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah,
mandatory
yeah.
parties. They were
Yeah.
mandatory back then. So I remember going to a Christmas party and meeting a couple of the wives who were adorable. But to really get to know anybody, of course you had to be up there full time. So no, I didn't really know anybody in that world, on a deeper level.
Wow, so you felt it because I talk about this. You felt the girlfriend like vibe. Like, do you feel like it was more on your end that you felt in the insecurity, or
Yeah.
did you feel? Because there's definitely amazing women that have they don't. I felt like I had a compassion for that, and maybe because I knew we got in. I was married, but I was a new wife, and I just felt like I had compassion. And I had already had heard, "Ooh, if you're not a wife, it's different." And I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm the underdog, kind of have the underdog
Yeah.
mentality. So
Yeah.
did you feel that?
Think so. Like I said, they were all nice. I've heard stories about, okay, she's a wife and she's married. I mean, you hear those things, and not necessarily from the inner circle of the Packers, but you hear them,
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there about, okay, and guys have girls in and out all the time, so you just never know. But like I said, everyone was, always nice to me, and I don't think I put myself out there to,
right.
you know feel
That's
a
true.
certain kind of way anyway. I mean, I was more the quiet type, and yeah, I mean, when I was in town it was only for a brief moment and I was out, so
Yeah.
I didn't put myself out there to be rejected or to be
Yes.
considered, or
To
so
be
I didn't.
scrutinized, really. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way.
Yeah,
That's a good way to see
yeah,
it.
to be
Like, okay,
scrutinized. Yeah.
so what expectations did you have coming in? And what were the different like, yeah, like, okay, these are the preconceived notions or assumptions or whatever, and then it's like, oh wow,
Mhm.
like this is different. Or what things stood out to you like in the beginning?
Oh God, expectations. I don't think I had any preconceived. I mean, I don't think I had any expectations, as far as just staying connected with my husband. I don't think. What are you saying? Like expectations
Like,
of?
did you feel like, oh, like he's in the limelight now, I have to be a part of it. Like, I remember, okay, so before I got married, I remember getting a call from Sherry Schultz, or maybe like a little bit
Oh,
after, and she was like, "Hey, did you want to, be a part of the Packer Wives Association?" Which meant, there was a Christmas thing, there was other events where it was like, okay, this is for literally for the wives to do different public things. And
sure.
I remember telling her, I said, I just got married and I really want to be focused on being that. And she
Yeah.
said, she goes, wow, she goes, I respect that. And it was good. Like, she honored that for sure. But I
Yeah.
kind of put myself in the position where, and I'm also introverted and I'm also shy. I feel like I kind of put myself in a bubble that was unnecessary. Like, we were in Bible study together. So there was a Christian woman that I knew, but still, I just know me, and it takes me a long time to like really connect with someone. And
Yeah.
so I probably like created walls that I didn't have to. Like, I think I went back to
Yeah.
Bethany Bidwell, and I said,
Yeah.
I really feel bad that I didn't open up, because she was one. I'm like, gosh, like we probably could have been better friends than we were. But
Yeah.
because I just kind of isolated myself, and not just isolation, of course, being, like being married and stuff, but there
Yeah.
were probably things I could have shared with other people, or the struggles. We had some serious struggles in the beginning because we were
Yeah.
nothing. We're not even boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, we were friends that didn't expect to like each other, and then all of a sudden we're married, living in the same space. So I went through a lot of stuff that no one
Yeah.
knew about, and I didn't know, I didn't know to share it with. So yeah, so like that, like, did you feel
Yeah.
that you had this pressure to be like right there with him?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, to tell you the truth, he wasn't in the spotlight in the beginning. He was
Okay,
a
okay.
seventh round draft pick, and he was
Seventh
just
round.
trying to find his way as well. So he was by no means in anybody's spotlight. He was just trying to make the
Gotcha.
team, you know.
Okay.
So no, in that way, I didn't feel pressured.
Hmm.
Like I said. I mean, I didn't really put myself out there like, like I'm just like you kind of. I'm not really an introvert, but I was shy because that was new
Mhm.
territory. So I didn't really have any expectations. I mean, I
Okay.
saw
That's
women
good.
who were doing their thing and looking glamorous and all of that, but I mean, I don't think I aspired to be like them per se because I kind of thought I was already like that,
That's
not in
awesome,
a
yeah.
not in a
But you were,
snooty
you
way.
totally were.
Not in a snooty way, but it was never, I don't know, I need to be somebody else,
Like,
you know what
I'm
I'm saying?
here now, like, I'm here, like, you're like, "I've always been here," like, like that,
This
like,
is
I
what
don't
I
know.
do. I'm just
Yes,
kidding.
yes. I totally get it.
Yeah. But and as far as being, involved in the Packers Women's Association, that came with the territory. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't mind doing that because I've always been a person to lend a hand, and if I'm
Yes, yes.
available, fine. But to be honest, when I first got to Green Bay, I had a job.
Okay.
I worked at First Star Bank. I worked at the jewelry store,
Well,
Rogers
in
and
Green Bay?
Holland in
In
Green
Green Bay?
Bay. Yes.
Oh, no way, I did
No,
not
I
know that.
I worked. I'm trying to see. I had another job too at one time. Did I have another job?
Wow, okay.
So I was kind of busy working. I know I worked at First Star for a while, not that long, but I did I did work for a while. So yeah, I kind of stayed busy. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean,
Huh,
my focus was him, but I did
your own
have
thing.
my own thing going on for a little bit at least.
That okay, see, that's a contrast 'cause when I think of the wives, like me, I left everything, so I had no job, nothing going into
Yeah.
Green Bay. And then I look at the ones who are fully in, like they had careers prior to marrying, and then they had to adjust wife life and mom life with a career. So you said you established work, but then you stopped. And so I think of someone like Laura Hawk. So she was into interior decorating. So she
Hmm.
carried that business on as I think it was there already, so it was established. And so then she had to kind of like take it down to go, okay, this is something I still want to do. This is what I'm called to do. But
Yeah.
now I'm wife and mom. So that's a cool like I didn't know that. So okay, so then when did he so you said so okay, so here's the contrast. So Kabir was fifth rounder and
Hmm.
so nothing I yeah, like his first rookie year, nothing. He almost well, he did get kicked out of practice. It was just a lot of stuff. And so then the next year he
Yeah.
blew up. So I came in the midst actually in the midst of it was 4 games, he had 9 sacks. So all of a sudden he's in the news and then we get married. And so from that standpoint, it was like all eyes on me. And it was
Yeah.
literally like, oh my gosh, he's getting married. Is he gonna still, like get sacks? And
Perform.
I think yes, yes. And the next game didn't get a sack. So I'm gonna tell you something. Like after that game, because it was no one knew me, that whole thing, which it's not just an isolated incident, but the thing of okay, is this a gold digger? Who is this woman coming
Yeah.
into, you know, my son's life or my this person's life? And after that game, we're in the garage and we're talking and he gets a call and this person, I don't know who it was, but they said, you see, you get married and this is what happened. She is to your demise. I mean, I started looking around the garage like, is someone watching us? So the
Wow.
pressure and the threat of you just got married and now like she's the end of you. I mean,
Oh
that's
wow.
what I literally
That's
like walking
sick.
into.
That's
Yeah, so
sick.
it's
Wow.
crazy stuff. So when did he? I I mean, it must have been the next year. I just always knew Donald as being like
Yeah.
good. So
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh, people ask me these questions like I'm I'm terrible with remembering dates and
yes.
specific details, but I don't know. I think maybe his second, maybe his third, fourth year, he started
Okay.
getting more playing time, and started really making plays and contributing to the team. But gosh,
Was it Billy Schrader also at the time? Was
yeah,
he the other?
Bill Schrader was with us. Yeah, he was there. It was an Antonio Freeman.
Okay.
Gosh, yeah. All those older guys, legend guys, were there when we first came in. So we were at the bottom of the totem pole.
Wow, yeah. And see, and
Yeah,
I don't see I want to come from the angle as a wife. So it's like I'm just trying to get people into the context of how it looks, but as a wife, like how does it look for you? So for you it's kind of gradual that you just kind of stepped into the roles. Like I look at, I do look at looking back, I look at how it seemed like in a sense like high school, like as a freshman, you're trying to make your way
yeah,
in, and so then you have like I saw this from my, and I don't know if you noticed this, but I was just like looking at like how different wives were, and I'm sure there's always a longing for some sort of identity, just like a security, like
yeah,
I'm me. And
sure.
but then I saw some that were like, okay, me means having to be equal in like limelight and presence, like her spouse. And I would have to say, unfortunately, that those are probably the ones that didn't make it. I don't know
Yeah,
if you, well, yeah,
yeah, for
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah,
because it almost seems like there's a competition. And so,
absolutely. Yeah,
so
I
I
never
look
wanted
at,
to be in a competition with him or compete with him in a sense, you know?
yes. Yeah. And I'm sure, like, so even like when I like, talk about expectations, like, did you feel that that was a pressure from outside? Like, hey, you need to speak, you need to do those things. Like we had talked one time, I think you were saying like they were trying to have you do something, and you're like, I don't want to, or even
Never
Donald. I
want
think you
to.
said that Donald was like asking
He
you.
always, always, he's always saying that you can do this, you're good at this, and you should do this. And I'm like, but I don't want to do that. It causes anxiety. I don't feel that's not my calling. I would rather not. I would rather you do that, and because you feel more comfortable in that situation. Of course, yes, you do need to be stretched to grow and all that, but
Mhm.
I'm okay with helping. I'm okay with, just being me and you be you.
Mhm.
and don't
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
love
was
it, love
yeah,
it.
I never felt like I just had to be out there in the spotlight. If someone,
Yeah.
acts, yeah, and it's usually fine, and I do usually, in the end feel comfortable and be like, yeah, that was nice. I'm glad I did that. Um, I enjoyed that, but that's not my nature. That's not my go-to. You know, having people come see me do this. I would rather not.
I would say that I I'm stepping into uncomfortable. Now it's more comfortable, but I feel like that was my prayer. Like
Yeah.
for me to go through that stuff. And it was like, God, if I have to go through this, then get glory. So I feel like calling that I have to like be there for other women. And that's just me.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, seriously, like it's crazy because when things get hard and I'm like thinking, like I gotta all the stuff that I'm uncomfortable with. Like I love writing, I love to do things, but
Mhm.
then like the marketing or the promoting all these, it's weird. It's like I don't want attention, but you need attention to like go,
Yeah.
hey, I have a book that I want you to read, or
But
a podcast.
you're so good at it, Eileen. You're so encouraging, and you do have a gift, and that's your God-given gift to minister to women. And I know it and I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. I know that's your gift. And I know that's what you're supposed to be doing, because you have, and you've always encouraged me, and I look to you as being that woman that, yeah, if something's up, you can take me to scripture, and I can confidently say that about you, because you've been there, so yeah, it is your calling. It is your
Yeah,
calling.
I
This is
mean,
what you're
it is.
supposed to
I
be
mean,
doing.
it's so funny because I like in the thick of something. I just remember being in bed with Michael, my new husband, who we haven't met yet. But I was like, I just want to go back to just like I want to do mom life. I want to like I don't. I'm like it's too hard. It's too stressful, and
Yeah,
God's gotten me through those times. But it's like yeah, like we have a different calling, and I love that because you totally represent that that place of being content with who you what your calling is. Like I
yeah,
love that you're saying like, I love being like the support for my husband, even though he's like saying, hey, you could do this, you could be like right there
yeah,
with me, but you're
yeah.
like, no, this is my role. And
Right.
and I want, and I know you know this, but some people may not realize that you are the strong woman and the supportive wife. The fact of just hearing you praise your spouse, praise him, it helps him and it gives him such like there's so much in how you are to him that allows him to do what he's doing like to this day. And
Yeah,
I commend that because I'm going through like I feel like new marriage, very guarded, very protected. Like it's easy for me to go, okay, I got to fend for myself and I got to make sure that my kids are okay. And I know so much of that is just
yeah.
because I'm still healing, that I'm not,
Sure.
that I
Yeah.
get guarded really quick. But I know, and this is actually a future, I'm probably going to do a podcast right after this. But the fact that I am finally going, you know what, Lord, you've called me to be a helpmate for him. I'm his helper. And it's not my place to scrutinize, to nag, to like say, hey, you better come through for all the things that were lacking in my past relationship. It's like I feel like I'm coming differently to my spouse to be the support that he needs. And it's totally
Yeah.
coming in a way that like I've not been before. And I hate to say that, but I mean I thought I was, but
Hmm.
I was definitely more guarded and more like losing my like feminine, like gentle, quiet spirit, which God loves. So I just look and I'm like, gosh, and I know that it's not that it's not that you don't have any issues at all, but this is
Right.
you
Because
guys
I
are
don't have a quiet spirit all the time. I'm just going to put that out there. Honey, we're all a work in progress.
yeah.
Much prayer, honey. Much prayer.
Uh-huh. But you guys are a team and you
We
know it.
are a
And I love it.
team. Yes,
Yes.
we are a team through and through for sure. Totally.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I like to talk about the fun things like, I mean, what? Okay, like style. And I told you I talked about this with Emily. So Emily's coming from Midwest.
Uh-huh.
I'm coming from California. I more for me it was more of like, okay, how do I deal with the cold? Because I can't stand cold. And
Yeah.
so it was great to finally like, the first couple years I'm outside keeping warm. I didn't care. But then, it was someone had a suite. We never purchased or we never had any like suite of our own or if we didn't go in with
Yeah.
other players. But like yeah, in our chintzy way, he was on this radio show where I always got to go into their suite. So for sure, for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I can finally dress cute. I can wear
Yeah.
like heels and not like have
Yeah.
this big old parka or the hunting gear that a lot of other people wear. Like, what was your transition of throughout the years? Like, what do you see? Like what was your style in the beginning? How did you? Because so for us, and not many people can talk about this, but most, as we know, most careers are like 2 to 3 years. So what was it, 10? You said 14 years in the
14
league?
years. Yeah.
Wow. And on one team.
One team.
That's huge. No wonder,
Yeah.
yeah, and I said, Donald's always going to be a fan favorite. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have no idea, like, the fact that you guys are together and you see your kids growing up. Like, this truly is, like, you guys are an amazing, like, story. So
Yeah.
definitely you're
Sweet.
all like,
Thank you.
your family's a
Thank you.
favorite.
Yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so yeah, so style and things like that. Like,
Uh,
how did you see things growing up?
Gosh, okay. Let me see. I think we were outside for several years. Well, I was because we didn't have kids when I first moved there and got married. But I was sitting outside for a while, and when it started getting cold, I just didn't go to the games.
Oh, you
Period.
didn't go at all.
I just didn't go to the games. And he wasn't really playing much our first few
Okay.
years. So why would I go to the game?
Yes, for sure.
Especially in zero below weather.
Yes.
But style wise, okay, I can understand you said when you were inside, you want to dress cute. Yeah, of course you did. That's what we do. That's that's
Yeah.
but I don't think my style changed because I went to a black college. We always dressed cute. We always dressed
Okay.
up going to games. So that was nothing new. That was the culture back then. So
Yes.
it was a show when we go to football games. I was in the band, so I never had that opportunity to dress up. But
Hmm.
when I did, I always I wore my boots, I wore my heels. It was an ordeal to get ready for a game. You just
Okay.
didn't put on a Packer jersey and go. Now, when I had kids, things changed. I
Okay.
did start wearing a Packers jersey. I did put on lower boots and not heels because your priorities just shift. And
Yeah.
toward the end of our career, we did have a box. So he wanted the kids there. So that was our thing. And
Mhm.
style wasn't a big priority because I had the kids with me and I was running
Right.
around with them.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, I had a sitter that would come to the game too, so that I can be able to watch. But, wearing those really tall heels, they kind of went down a little bit. I mean, I still
Still
dress
look cute,
cute,
but
but I mean, it wasn't a ordeal like it was in those younger years.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So you brought this up because we talked a little bit about this too. So we talked about culture. I told you, I messaged you like, okay, so like Emily Nelson. So okay, so I'm talking about Emily. I'm talking about you because we all were in Bible study,
Hmm.
and this was my take. Like my ex and I we just always talked. We always talked about our issues, and I was telling Emily this. I'm like, like when I think of Midwestern Caucasians, that I didn't feel that they had opened up. And so when we had this conversation and we were talking about family
Hmm.
expectations and things like that, it doesn't seem like, well, like mother-in-law situations. Some are harder than others,
Yeah.
and so hopefully you don't have those stories. But I've heard some crazy stories. I actually had some issues,
Yeah.
but when I was talking to Emily, she was like, I had compassion over those situations, but we didn't experience that. She said that her and Jordy, their parents were blue collar. They never asked for tickets. They never put pressure to, like, hey, like all those different things that come with the territory. That now all of a sudden you're playing football. People come out of the woodworks to ask you different things, and so
Yeah.
she said that she didn't experience that like other people. And so she goes, I
Yeah.
couldn't speak to that. And it just kind of opened my eyes like, wow, it is. I mean, sometimes even for me, I'm just looking from how I see things and I think, oh, everybody deals with that. But she just opened my
Yeah.
eyes like, wow, it's not the same. So how was that for you? Did you feel that? Um, the pressures, the tickets, did you feel like, how did you handle that?
I mean, I wouldn't call them issues, but we did have people expecting and expectations were there.
Mhm.
Um, I never had mother-in-law issues. I
Yes, because I mean,
had,
that's what I was like. I
yeah,
see that. I mean, you guys seem like you always had a good
yeah,
relationship.
we always had a great relationship. So, and I think it was mainly because Quickie, I call him Quickie Donald. he's very loving toward his mom, and he set that tone. That's his mom. So I would never combat that in any way. Um, and his family, he loved his family. He loved having his family around. They didn't come often, but when they did, we provided transportation. We provided, travel for them to come. We provided tickets. It wasn't often, it was enough, and I don't think it was an issue. And now
Okay.
that I look back, I'm grateful that we were able to do that,
Yes.
um because that's what we should have been doing, you know. you
Yeah.
know that, I
Yeah.
mean, we were blessed to be a blessing. So I don't think I appreciated that every time, but now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was pretty cool that we got to do that for them. um
Wow. What a good,
yeah.
yeah, what a good
But
perspective.
like I said, in the moment, it was a lot. In the moment, it was a lot because you had kids to deal with, and you had people in your house all the time. And so I don't think I appreciated it, and I probably downright complained about it sometimes, um but it's such a short window, and I should have
Yeah.
embraced it more,
Yeah. Right. Right.
because nobody comes to visit us now, which, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
We have our kids, and we're still living life and being busy. But yeah, there were times when the the asking got a bit too much, and for both of us, and him especially, because
Yeah.
he made it, and people did want handouts, quite frankly. And
Yeah.
he was very gracious, but I don't think it was always with a cheerful heart like it should have been,
Yes.
you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's one regret, because when you're a
Mhm.
blessing to others, you get blessed as well. So
Yeah, and I mean, like you, well, one thing that the thing that stuck out is you said it didn't happen all the time. So
mhm,
you guys saw it as an opportunity, and I know for sure, like it's hard, and there's a little bit of like resistance, but you had opportunity, and you're seeing it as like, yeah, like we got to do these things for other people, and it sounds like because it wasn't so often that you're
mhm,
able to see, yeah, like we can do this, and this is a good thing. I know you've heard stories where it's total
constant,
expectations. It's very, like it
yeah,
totally bombards and consumes them where it causes issues between, the family or the spouse. And
yeah.
so it sounds good that like you guys kind of, had a good
I mean,
handle.
I don't think it necessarily caused an issue between he and I, but there were times when I knew he was, I would say, uneasy or stressed out about
Yeah.
having to be that person. And
Hmm.
I had to be there to kind of support that. You know what I'm saying? Because when
Hmm.
he's hurting, it doesn't make you feel good,
Yeah.
or when
Yeah.
he feels like, okay, he has to do this, he has to do that. It doesn't make you feel happy. That's why looking back at it now, I wish I would have been more supportive of him, or nudging him along the way, or saying, well, we do get to do this. It is a
Yeah.
blessing for us to do. I wasn't that way back then, because, I
Right.
did see his frustration in,
Hmm.
having to do those things. But I mean, you live and you learn, and
Yes.
you just take
Yeah.
it for what it is. It's all a lesson, and it's all an opportunity to grow, as a couple.
I have to say, in our experience, like I know that we did a good job with boundaries, but as you say, looking back,
Hmm.
I think that I we well, I would like to do things a little bit differently. It was good that we had our boundaries, but
Yeah.
um, in the personality that we're talking about, it kind of came off harsh and
Yeah.
very, like I mean,
Yeah.
to the point of we were so tight at times. It was this isn't context to, well, no, it is like, people coming into town or different things. But there was a time where we had friends that came that were in town or that we don't see very much.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, well, let's go out to eat, let's like have dinner together. And
Yeah.
Kabir goes, well, that's not in our that's not in our budget. Like, wait, hold on, what? We couldn't go to dinner with a couple because we went over our date night budget. Like, oh my gosh. So transition, because you talked about, no one visits you now and things like that. So now, so you're here, your kids are older, and
Yeah.
a couple things I want to hit on is like, how was that for like your son? Like, did he want to play? Did he feel pressure? How does Donald like look at like, oh, my son? Like, how does that look for you guys when it's in terms of like football and your son playing?
I don't think Christian ever felt pressure to have to play. Quite
Mhm.
frankly, he didn't start playing until like later, like I would say sixth or seventh grade.
Okay.
And Quickie did coach him. No, I take that back. He may have played in a little summer, a little fall league, and Quickie coached one season or a couple seasons. I don't know, but we gave the boy a baseball and we said go play baseball, go play basketball. I mean, that's
That's
what we
funny.
nurtured with Christian. Football was the furthest thing on our radar. and
Wow.
and to be honest, he was afraid to play for a long time. He was talented and we knew he had it in him, but he just did not, it just didn't connect with him. And
Mhm.
he 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 was afraid. And so we kind of took a different route and we're like, okay, this boy's not playing football. Give him a basketball, give him a baseball, and let him, we put our energy in that with him. But
Yeah.
now all of a sudden he was like, okay, I'm done with basketball, I'm done with baseball. I'm going to play football on his own. He said he made that
Yeah.
decision on his own. And now that he's playing, it is fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he's in it, but I don't care. I mean, I
Yeah.
just want the boy healthy. I
Yes.
want him healthy. I want him sane. Um, I want him loving Jesus, and that's all that matters to me,
Mhm.
you know.
Yes.
So, but it is fun to watch, and we do get to enjoy that phase and that time of his life. So it's been interesting. Played safety for a while, and he was recruited to Penn State in the safety position. But when he got there, they switched him to cornerback, and he was like, let me try this, because his senior year he did play wide receiver, and he was like, I like this position, but he was going to play both. And so
Yes.
when he got to Penn State, he decided, okay, I think I want to do wide receiver now. And so he flipped on that and started doing it. And now he's wide receiver.
I remember when Ali, so my
Hmm.
number two,
Hmm.
he was the one that every time there was a flyer that came in for a Green Bay summer camp or something, I'd like throw it away. I'm like, I don't want them doing that now. And
Right.
somehow he found one and we went that year. And like again, like I mean, obviously it's so well, one thing that you said is you said he started late. Your son
Hmm.
started late and you're saying sixth grade. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is considered late. And
Yeah.
so in our situation, you know, um, I mean, our lives were on hold with
Hmm.
everything that was going on. And so I look at like my two oldest, where she didn't really, he wasn't really interested in that. And
Yeah.
then in the thick of everything, like, yeah, we were just living. I mean, Ali, he was the one that asked me, can I go to a different school? I want to play football, all these things. And so I look at the older ones, and Rashid didn't start till late. And
Hmm.
and we're talking late, like senior year, like during COVID in an
Yeah.
8-man school. But then it's crazy to see when he did play. I was like, whoa, like I could see
The talent.
dad in him.
Yeah.
And Ollie's always been naturally gifted, but it's like I look at that and I'm like thinking like man, there was so many years that they didn't play. The mom in me to think, you had an NFL dad who didn't do those things with you,
Yeah.
and I know you guys want to play. And I had that was probably my biggest wrestling with everything
Yeah.
is like going, Lord, like I want to be mad at this, but
Yeah.
you have a plan for them. You're gonna see them through whatever. I don't even
Yeah.
care about football. I just want them to pursue their dreams, and
Right.
so they're gonna keep going. We'll see what happens. I'm looking at them going, okay, who knows what football is? Thank God
Yeah.
you didn't play all those years, like your
Right.
body's broken down, all this stuff. So we'll see. And then I look
Exactly.
at but I look at my littler ones, or I look at the ones everyone had more years, and so number 3, he started earlier, totally
Mhm.
fearless, totally relentless. You got the other ones that follow suit, and I'm like, just like with my little guy. So he's 6, and I think, can you go play soccer? Go play basketball? Because I don't. And then all he's like, no, start him now. I'm like, no, I don't want him. I don't want him to start now. He's like, well, look at what happened to me. Like I don't
Right.
want what happened to. So it's just all these different
Yeah.
dynamics. But ultimately, it is as a mama's heart is. I want you to do what God is calling you to do. I know this is part of the
Exactly.
process. I'm never gonna say, hey, stop playing. But it's like, Lord, you have them.
He can restore all those years. It doesn't matter
Yes.
how late, how early they start. Yeah, if it's meant for them, it will be. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally
and
believe that.
they'll all have a story. They'll
Yeah,
all,
for
and
sure.
I'm just like speaking that like God, you have a plan for
Yeah.
them. It goes way beyond football. So then you have your 2. I know one plays volleyball, right? Are there 2 in high school?
The little
I mean,
one, the 13-year-old, she's 7th grade. She plays volleyball.
oh, okay,
My
okay,
oldest daughter, she did play for a while in high school, but she stopped. She didn't play her senior year, and she's running track. So she's
okay.
at St. Thomas running track. She's a jumper, long jump, triple jump, and then she runs like the 4x1 or something. So
Like what's Donald has his? Is it yeah? What is it? What is it that he has now?
he still stays pretty busy with Green Bay. Not Green Bay per se, but just things in Wisconsin. Like
Business stuff.
uh yeah, business stuff.
Mhm.
He's spokesperson for, I don't know, a few things. I don't know what he does. He does a lot of stuff. And
Yes.
he's actually coming back from Green Bay right now,
Oh wow.
because he did Inside the Huddle. They had different players come on and talk about the week or what they have going on. But it's a pretty popular show, and they still host it. So he goes there just every year, one time during the season to do the show. So he's on his way back from that now. But yeah, he's still busy. And we have a gym here in Dallas. It's in Denton. So he's busy with that. He trains. Um, he helps charity with basketball and volleyball. So he stays busy.
Actually, I wanted to tell you this thing. So, like here,
Mhm,
I have the extreme of what happened to me,
mhm,
and this is which is why, like, this is my heart to share, to write the book, and so there's those situations, and it's super extreme, and as extreme as it is, it's actually happening now. Like, there's different wives that have come to me where it's
mhm,
literally like their husbands, ex-husbands have joined cults, and
mhm.
it's polygamy is okay now, all these things. So
Yeah.
that is as extreme as it is. I'm dealing
Right.
with those things. And then there's ones that we know of wives who have endured the cheating, like they stick it out thinking,
Mhm.
okay, this is my only source of income. And
Yeah.
then I got a call from this woman, and she started reading my book, and her husband, they both love Jesus. He went into acting. She's like, Eileen, she goes, how she's like, you were able to put in words all the things that I couldn't convey to other people. And I was just thinking, like, as she was like, she said she was suffering in silence. And this is her story. And she goes, I just lost myself, my self-worth. And it was as if like his life was more important. Like, she felt like she had to stuff everything. And so I was just thinking of like, wow, we're talking, you know, um, extreme case, or a lot of the cheating case, but then even in her case, healthy marriage, you know, they both love the Lord. And she still was like, okay,
Right.
I finally have this voice and this or this someone who understands me. So like knowing, and so she's just out of it. So I'm just thinking, wow, like there's such a broad spectrum of a woman in that world
Hmm.
where no matter what, she's like, there's always just like, okay, who am I supposed to be? Like, and
Yeah.
so we hear it in Christ. And you know, I know that look, we're coming from 20 plus years out, whereas this girl is like kind of just coming out of it, and so she's dealing with these things. So knowing what you know now, like what would you tell your younger self, or what would you tell someone like this woman who's just kind of feeling all these things?
I would tell her to find a good set of friends, godly friends. For me, it was my church. Like, yes, I
Mhm.
had valuable friendships within the Packers organization, but I did life with a lot of my church
Mm.
friends. I don't know. I stay rooted and grounded in a community outside of the
Yeah.
NFL. I
Yeah.
think that's important because I mean you need to be around people that aren't in that world to bring you back to reality too. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to lose yourself, you got to find it somewhere. And I think identity is found in Christ. So
Mhm.
that would be my best advice for her if she's feeling like she's, wavering or lost or don't know what to do. I don't know. Find a church family that will embrace you and speak truth over you, identity. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
No, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's anchor in
Mhm.
things that don't, because in that world anything goes. You could get.
Yeah, in that world, you're up and then you're down. You're high, then you're low. You gotta, I mean, I don't know, but you said she was coming out of the whole NFL thing, so she's like
Mhm.
fine.
That's awesome advice for sure, is to stay anchored
Mhm.
and rooted. And like I always say, and that's just, it's like, just finding someone that understands you. It's like, we're better together, and just to feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this thought process, because I understand it. Like she feels like that she can't find someone who can relate or understand, and so it's just to feel like I'm not crazy is a good thing for her to just go,
Yeah,
okay, good. Um, okay,
yeah.
so and then this is like, do you still talk to a lot or any of the NFL wives?
I'm still connected with like K. Cole, who was
Okay, I knew you were
there,
gonna say that.
Tamiko Wayne. Do you know Tamiko Wayne? Remember Nate and Tamiko?
I mean,
Yeah,
well, I remember the name, but yeah, I think they were before us. Was he a
yeah.
linebacker or something?
The Pickets, we were really tight.
Oh, okay.
But they're
That's
they're
good to
like,
know.
I don't know where they're like in Portugal somewhere. I mean, we stay like connected on Facebook or whatever. Um, but yeah, I still have a connection with some of the girls and their
Mhm,
families. But like I say, we don't see each other, often or whatever. But
mhm.
Mindy Bennett still can call her up and shoot the
That's
breeze with her. Gosh. Oh, and you know who I just saw who lives in Minnesota? Um, Jennings, Nicole Jennings. She has a
okay.
store. She has a store in Minnesota, and I went there and I visited with her for a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I still connect with some of the girls, but like I say, we don't see each other often.
We don't talk that much, but I
Yeah.
love I love doing it. I love reconnecting. I love, like,
Oh,
wow,
for
like this
sure.
is, I mean, it's I would hope there's a lot of maturity in 20 years where life
Oh,
looks different, and
for
things like
sure.
that.
For
So
sure.
I love your story. I love
Hmm.
you guys. It's been an honor to have you here. And it's like
Aw.
the hope of, I just look at the hope of Jesus going, wow, like that's cool. Like, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like, and we're all different, like, we talked about different callings, but it's not like you're always like outspoken about your faith. Neither was Quickie. You guys were solid. You're like, just
Mhm.
solid and steady, and like God God is just using that, and he's glorified in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just see the fruit of you guys being faithful to him, faithful to each other. I
Hmm.
seriously like a wife who you've been such an amazing, supportive wife, and I love that he loves you. It's no doubt.
It's been a sweet and challenging journey,
Mhm.
and we're still growing. We're still just learning about, the buttons to push and the not to push, And of course, we have that time, and that time has brought, you know, happiness, joy, tears, pain, all of the things, and we're
Mhm.
just we're just we're just working through everything, and just finding the compassion for each other is key,
Yeah.
empathizing with upbringings, all of that, so it's been a sweet journey for sure.
Thank you again for this time. I just loved it. To me, it was just like a conversation where it's like, like I don't even thinking about anybody. It's just talking to you. I'm going to Dallas in a couple of weeks for a marriage
Oh,
conference.
well,
I don't think I'm gonna have time, but
yeah.
it'll be good.
What marriage
I'll
conference?
get. It's part of this organization. So it's Rise Up Kings and Rise Up
Okay.
Queens. So actually, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's in Dallas. It's kind of like it's like a boot camp setting for guys. So
Yeah.
in a nutshell, it's literally breaking down these big tough businessmen, these alpha men. It's breaking them down but lifting them up.
Yeah.
So it's 3 days of just hardcore. And so my husband went to that, which has been a
Hmm.
huge for us. And so then they have the counterpart Rise Up Queens. And so yeah, so they have a couples like kind of an intense thing there.
Yeah.
So we'll be there, I think like 4 days right before Thanksgiving. And
Oh,
then I
awesome.
go back. I'm gonna do this. I go back in February
Hmm.
for just so there's like an individual one. So he's going in January. I'm gonna go in February. Let's make time to connect.
Yeah, I
Let's
would
do the
love
dates.
it. I would love it.
Yeah, I'll say a
Yes.
date. Like, all right, I love you, girl. Thank you
I love
again.
Until next time, love well, celebrate your strength, and discover the new things you are capable of. You are a light in the lives of those around you, and no night is too dark for you to find your way.